Hey, everybody, State Representative Walter Hudson here, District 30A in Minnesota, Albertville, St. Michael, Otsego, Rockford Township, Hanover. That's not the usual order that I list them in, so I hope I got them all in there. So I just wanted to give you guys an off-the-cuff, totally unplanned, totally unscripted legislative update. I just got home after another day at the Capitol, and I'm kind of in. It's been such a crazy few days. I think we're all feeling that with what's been going on in the state and nationally, the tragedy in Nashville and what have you. And we're at a stage in the session, a stage in the legislative process where all of these crazy ideas that we've been hearing and contending with in committees are coalescing into what are called omnibus budget bills. And after the Easter break, we're going to be coming back to the Capitol and coming to the House floor, and we're going to be debating all these bills. And you're going to be hearing a lot from me and my colleagues and from others regarding what is ultimately going to end up becoming law in the state of Minnesota. And, this update is, I do a lot of stuff for people or a lot of stuff that is delivered with a tone that is most agreeable to people who are with me, right? Today, I want to talk to the people who disagree with me. Today, I want to talk to the people in the middle, the people on the left, the people on the other side, the Democrats in my district and beyond, and let you know what I'm seeing that is relevant to you. I want to let you know what I'm seeing from my perspective that I suspect you care about as a Democrat voter, as a Democrat constituency. Because there are things that are happening and there are results. Like what I'm about to claim, like I'm not just making claims here. You're going to feel what I'm saying. It's going to manifest as a reality for you very soon. And so, you can judge for yourself. You have no reason to trust me. If you're somebody who votes against me or votes against my colleagues, if you're a Democrat, you're on the left, you have no reason to trust what I'm saying. The nice part is you don't have to trust me because you're going to see it firsthand with your own eyes real soon. So here's what it is. Here's what I'm seeing. Last night, I and other local representatives and senators, all Republican, visited with some teachers from the Elk River School District at a very informal gathering where we're just listening. It was like a listening session. They're telling us what their issues are, what they need, what their vision is for education and how it should be funded, how it should be supported by the state. That conversation was very indicative, and you can ask the people who were there, okay, Elk River teachers, go talk to them. That conversation was very indicative of other conversations I've been having with other sorts of constituencies that typically vote with the Democrats. Folks who, for instance, live in North Minneapolis. Folks who are concerned about rehabilitation in the criminal justice system, what our friends on the left call restorative justice. I've been talking to these folks. And what I hear from virtually everyone that I talk to in any sector of the economy, from any walk of life, is that they're not getting what they were promised, and that they're in a point of crisis that is the product of years and years and years of not getting what they were promised and not getting what they need and not being supported, which is interesting because most of the time, Democrats have been in charge, right? I mean, it's your people. It's the people that you're voting for who aren't giving you the things that you say you want. And, from my perspective, from your perspective, let me put myself in your shoes. You have no reason to trust a Republican, right? Because we go around talking about how we want to cut everything. We go around talking about how we want to shrink government. The conversation yesterday with the teachers, at one point, the topic of choice, school choice, was brought up, and that's apparently viewed with hostility by a lot of teachers who see it as an attempt to defund public education and take a situation that's already regarded as a crisis and make it much worse by taking money out of the system. Okay. I'm listening. I'm hearing you. So what's the solution? Well, let me tell you what you're going to get. Let me tell you what it looks like you're going to get when it comes to education. My school district, STMA, is asking for 5 and 5 on the formula. That's a 5% increase in one fiscal year, followed by a 5% increase in the following year. We call the 2 years a biennium, right? That's what my school district is asking for. My school district is also asking for full funding of what's called the cross subsidy. Now, what that is that's a really fancy and benign sounding term for a deficit that is resulting from mandates that come down from the federal and state level that are placed upon school districts. But then we don't give them any money because we're real cute like that. We tell you what to do and then don't give you the money to do it. That's your government for you. And so the difference has to be made up, and that difference is made up through the school district's general fund. That's the cross subsidy. It's the general fund of your school district, your property tax dollars, and state dollars subsidizing the lack of funding from the state and from the feds when it comes to all these mandates that they have to abide by but are not compensated for. And so what the school district is asking for is, please fund your mandate. If you're going to tell us to do something, give us the money to do it. That's what they're asking for. Very reasonable. And the last thing that they're asking for is no more unfunded mandates. Makes sense, right? Well, what you're actually going to get under DFL trifecta full control of the state is none of that. Just none of it. Not 0 for 3. Nothing. Nada. You're not getting any of it. The current proposal is to give you 4 and 2 on the formula. Okay, which, it's better than nothing. A 50% cross subsidy, which is actually like 48.7% if you want to really split hairs about it. And a bunch more mandates, just a ton. Just going to dump mandates all over you. That's what they're going to do. Now, the scuttlebutt is, and this is rumor, but rumors tend to manifest in reality down at the Capitol. The rumor is that business administrators and school districts throughout the state are being told by state employees of state agencies, such as MDE, the Minnesota Department of Education, to prepare as if what they're going to be getting from the state is 0 and 0, nothing and nothing. And the reason why they're saying that, the reason why they're warning administrators be prepared for nothing, is because even though you're likely going to end up with 4 and 2 on the formula, by time you factor in all of the mandates, by time you account for all of the additional burden and administrative web that is going to come with all the strings attached, in effect, your operation is going to be no better off than it is today. So you're going to be in the same boat, which was described to me last night by these teachers as on the brink of crisis, on the brink of the system collapsing, already understaffed, already overworked, already not seeing their own children because they're spending so much time trying to take care of ours. So what you're going to get, this is astounding. And I really want folks to think about this. What you're getting from Minnesota Democrats is they are going to spend every last dime of a $17.5 billion surplus. They're going to raise taxes. They're going to increase the budget. And at the end of the day, education still isn't going to be fully funded by any measure. On my side, we often kind of mockingly ask the question, well, what's fully funded? What do you guys mean? Well, I mean, my school district gave me a definition, 5 and 5, 100% funding of the cross subsidy, no new mandates. That's the definition they gave. That's not what they're getting. Do you feel fully funded by what I just described? Do you feel like you're getting what you have been longing for, what you hoped you would get under a Democrat trifecta? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing not. Now, at this point in this conversation, in the video, if you're a Democrat voter or you're an educator or you're part of the union, you're probably asking yourself, well, yeah, sure, Walter, of course. We know that. We would never say it publicly. We would never admit to it. But we know that what you're saying is true. But look, we're still getting more from them than we would get from you. You campaigned, I campaigned on school choice, and we think that's going to take money out of our pockets. So, 4 and 2 is better than what you would have given us. And, look, you're probably right. If I was in charge, if I had come into this job on January 3rd and been sworn in as part of a majority that was itself part of a trifecta, a Republican trifecta, these are not the proposals that we would be making. I think I can say that with total confidence. But perhaps ironically, maybe fortunately, the Democrats won. They won the election and they have the trifecta. And so instead of coming in with my preconceptions and then legislating accordingly, I've had this fascinating experience over the course of the past 3 months. This deeply fascinating experience where I come in disempowered, like nothing I want to do, I can do. And so all I have left to do is watch, analyze, and listen and synthesize all this new information. And that's been a deeply educational experience. Getting to know people, getting to know institutions, getting to know problems, and coming to an understanding of what's going on. And what I feel like it's going on, what I feel like the issue is, or the ultimate outcome of all of this is going to be, is that you're going to get on the other side of this session and you're going to have these new budgets where everybody who the Democrats have made promises to is going to get something, but none of them are going to be getting everything that they asked for because they made too many promises to too many people in order to try to develop and solidify and organize and marshal their political constituency. And we're hearing that this week. We've been hearing in committees these omnibus budget bills, which those are the bigger bills that kind of wrap up all of the individual proposals that we've been seeing over the past 3 months, several weeks. And so testifiers are coming in and telling us what they think of this kind of like final proposal of what's going to come out of the committee and end up coming to the House floor. And what I'm hearing from testifiers, I sit on the Children and Families Committee and the Public Safety Committee. A recurring theme from this testimony is, hat in hand, thank you, Madam Chair, thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving us a little bit of what we asked for. But this ain't going to be enough. This ain't going to get the job done. And I look at that, I hear that, and I think to myself, well, this sounds like we didn't pick our priorities. It sounds like we made a lot of promises, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Democrats now, if you'll grant me that luxury. We made a lot of promises to a lot of people, and now we're trying to keep them all. And as a result, we're actually keeping none. That's what it feels like. And so it's what it causes me to do as a Republican, as a conservative, as somebody who has very different ideas about what government should be doing and how the state should be run, is ironically, it provokes me to reconsider my approach to public policy. Because if we're going to have certain sectors of the economy, maybe that's not the best way to put it. If we're going to have certain roles in society that we agree ought to be administered and paid for by the state, things like law enforcement, criminal justice, education. Now we're talking about mental health. We're talking about intervention in social programs to intervene with families and juveniles in order to divert them from encountering the criminal justice system. Solve the problem before it becomes a problem. That's the approach. Okay. If we're going to try to do those things, then we need to focus on them. We need to whittle down our resources to, instead of being in a gazillion different pots, and creating new pots. That's what we're doing. We're creating a brand new State Department, another agency, hiring more state workers to do clerical work. Instead of doing all that, maybe we need to whittle down to what are our primary silos? What are the things we want to make sure we're doing all the way, that we're funding at 100%, that we're making sure we're getting done well, and that we're on a sustainable track? How do we steward this thing sustainably? And, off the top of my head, it's not entirely off the top of my head. I've been doing some thinking about this for a while, and so have my colleagues. You need to know, there needs to be some predictability about what's going to happen next month, next year, next biennium. So how do you do that? Well, I've got a few bills. I've got a bill that would limit the state budget to 5 1/3% of the state's personal income, which would result in something that's less than what we currently have. I've got a bill that would require a 2/3 majority in order for us to raise taxes in this state, in both chambers of the legislature. These are both constitutional amendments, by the way. So you, the people, would have the opportunity to vote upon them. And then that would become the law of the land in the state of Minnesota. And what these bills would do is they would draw some foul lines around the budgeting process. And what that would result in is it would force government, it would force the legislature to have to think strategically within the constraints of the amount of money the state actually has. Because right now, they don't have that. Right now, the sky's the limit. And that's why they're able to go around making a bunch of promises to a bunch of people, because they think they can tax their way out of this. You can see it when you look at the fiscal notes of these bills, which are analysis from nonpartisan staff at the Capitol that tells us what the actual dollars and cents projected impact of these proposals is. It breaks it down into columns of what's going to happen this year and the next year and the year after that and the year after that. And those latter 2 years are what's called the tails. And there's a lot of money stuck in them tails, a lot more money than is currently available to spend, even with the surplus. And by the way, much of the surplus, like over half of it, is one-time money. It's not ongoing incoming revenue from our sources of state sales tax and income tax and corporate tax. And so this is clearly unsustainable. Like, you can't sustain this without raising taxes. So that's their plan. Just implicitly, their plan is to keep winning and be in a position in 2 years, and after 2024 and 2025, to raise your taxes exorbitantly in order to be able to pay for all this stuff. And keep in mind, the proposal that you're getting now, but according to your testimony, is not enough in order to accomplish the mission, right? And so you're never going to get there. We're never going to get to the point where you're fully funded. We're never going to get to the point where you have what you believe you need and are testifying you need in order to accomplish your mission. And they're able to do that because there's no constraint. There's nothing to rein them in. What we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be honest with you, and you guys need to be honest with us. And we need to recognize that there is, in fact, that the sky is not the limit. There is a roof over our heads, and it's there for a reason, and it serves a purpose, and we need to respect it and abide by it. And that's what my fiscal rules, my ideas for having a sustainable stewardship model for government, that's what that would do. And then within those constraints, we pick a handful of things. Education is a no-brainer. Public safety is a no-brainer. Mental health services, I keep hearing about the desperate need to do something transformative in the space of mental health. All right, let's do it. Let's make that a mission. And then we throw all the money at that. Transportation, a few other core things, and the rest of it just goes. The rest of it has to go by the wayside. It has to. When you try to be, and you know this in your life, you try to be a jack of all trades, you're gonna suck at everything. And that's where the state of Minnesota is at, and that's where it's headed. We need to pick the things that we're committed to doing and then do them well and fund them fully to the extent we have the resources to do so. That's the offer. And we're not in charge right now, so none of what I'm saying has any impact on your life. But the reason I'm sharing it with you is because I want you to think about it. I want you to think about what could be. If what could be educators, what could be teachers, if you had a state government that was truly committed to making up for the deficit of attention you've received over the course of many, many years, and was willing to let things of lesser importance fall by the wayside in order to ensure that that happened. What would that be like? I'm willing to entertain it. I know a few other legislators who are as well. What would it be like, residents of North Minneapolis, if you had a state government that was committed to supporting your police, to treating them respectfully, to making sure that when they go on disability, that they can count on that year over year for the rest of their life, as opposed to having threats to have it taken away, which is a current bill that's making its way through the process of the state legislature under Democrat trifecta. I've talked to multiple disabled retired cops. One of them is a family member who are looking at being told, after years of not being on the force and being disabled, which is why they're not on the force, after years of that, being told that they're going to have to submit themselves to evaluation for possible re-entry onto the force. And also being told that they might have to pay back portions of the benefits that they've received as an incentive to no longer remain on disability. The incentive's the wrong word. It's pressure. And it's reneging on a deal is what it's doing. What would it be like, North Minneapolis, if we didn't treat cops like that? What would it be like if we had law enforcement that worked hand in hand with these community organizations, and there was a good, solid relationship there that was built on trust, instead of our police officers being consistently and constantly demonized and told that they're racist and white supremacists? What would that be like? You think it might be better? I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. But let's have the conversation. Enjoy the rest of your day.